Luke. Okay, so metal.
Metal.
The show's about metal.
What is metal? We're going to spread the hidden value in music.
We're going to proselytize. We're going to get the word out there.
We are.
That's important.
Oh, welcome to the Great Metal Podcast. This is episode 69. Devil Horns, 69.
No. It's like this, bro.
Oh, well, it's a 69 though. It's a 69. You gotta. I don't know. Yeah. Oh, well, welcome everybody. You got Shredmaster Scott, just Pete, and the Metal Evangelist here. Today, this is 69 is a forbidden number, right?
Ooh.
Forbidden number. So we're going to talk about some forbidden metal songs here. Some juicy gossip, maybe. Some secrets. I don't know what's going to happen today. Shred was saying today might end a certain very popular metal band's career.
We could end Metallica with this episode. This could be the last time we ever hear from them. So look out, Metallica. We're coming for you.
Yeah. P.S. Don't stop writing metal. Yeah. So it's going to be a weird one here. This all came out. I was talking to some people and they were like, they were asking me. I was talking about Dream Theater, and they were asking me like, because I've been to a lot of their shows, and they were like, do they always play the songs you want? I'm like, no, of course not. I mean, they can't, right? I mean, they have a pretty big discography, and then it got me thinking.
More than 69 minutes. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, 69 hours, maybe closing in there. But it got me thinking. It's like, what songs do bands like? Do bands have songs that they've never played live? Because Dream Theater does. For the longest time, they never played Space Divest live, and then they did. And so now there's just a few songs that Dream Theater have never played live. And
I know DJ Khaled songs are very challenging, and like some Lil Wayne stuff, they probably wouldn't touch that ever. It's way too hard.
I was like, wait, what? What?
You guys know DJ Khaled, right? The DJ.
I've heard the name. I don't know any stuff.
Well, there's a time when he attempted to play guitar. You have to look it up, and it did not go well. We'll just say that.
Okay. Oh, was that? No, Lil Wayne is the one. I think I saw a video of like trying to solo on the guitar, and he was just
fingering his G string over and over again. Actually, it was with his thumb, and that was all he had. Like he couldn't even play like frets and stuff. It was terrible.
Yeah. I'm not sure what the point of that was. Like he had to know before picking up the guitar. Like, I don't know what I'm doing with this thing. Maybe that was part of the show.
You just think when you're like a rap lord, you just think you're invincible. You can't be touched.
Yeah,
you're the greatest.
Well, that guitar touched him very inappropriately, for sure. Oh, there it is. All right, well let's maybe dive in here to one of our juicy tracks here.
A deep dive.
Should we start with Metallica?
Yeah. Start there.
It's such a great story. So I look up Metallica songs that they've never played live, and they've got quite a few of them. I think there's like 16 or 17 of them, which is actually not that many compared to like how many songs they have. And they were all like B tracks to the Load and Reload. It's like the house that Jack built and stuff, like songs that nobody's ever heard of.
About that shit.
Right. So why would they play them anyway? But then I came across an interesting story, and I won't say where I came across it, but might be insider information. And so as it turns out, the song Dyer's Eve. Does anybody know the song Dyer's Eve? I'd never heard of it before.
There's a lot of Metallica songs. It's okay to not have heard of every single one, Now you get crucified upside down by the diehard fans, but don't worry about it.
Yeah. So certainly somebody out there has heard of Dyer's Eve. Well, apparently Metallica did not play it live for 20 years. Wow. For 20 years, they did not play. And it's apparently it was like a fan requested song. Like, oh, play Dyer's Eve, play Dyer's Eve. And they never would for 20 years. So as it turns out, they couldn't play it live because it's one of Metallica's fastest songs and it has double bass, and Lars can't do the double bass.
No, Lars.
So much so that
he needs to go to drum school.
yeah.
6.9 years and graduate.
Rumor on the street is that Lars didn't even record the double bass drum part in the studio for the album. They had to have a studio drummer record the double bass part.
DJ Khaled to do that with his amazing skills.
Mad skills.
Yeah, probably. So anyway, 20 years into their career, I guess Lars got it down. So here is, I believe this is either the first or second performance of Dyer's Eve by Metallica. This was back in like 2013 or something like that. Anyway, here's Dyer's Eve and Lars going after it. Okay, he's struggling.
6 beats per minute, isn't it?
That is so very fast.
That's a fast song. Yeah. And you could hear it. I mean, he was getting a little like triplets in there, the double bass, gallop triplets there. Unless that was a track, which I doubt it. Sounded like that was him doing it. So now I have not heard the studio version of this. But rumor on the street is that Lars did not record it in the studio.
At least his snare drum doesn't sound like a trash can like it does on Saint Anger. Ugh, brutal.
That trash can snare is terrible.
It's rough.
Yeah. And a lot of bands do that. I don't know why. But anyway, so, there it is. Shred, you played live before. Have there been some songs where you're like, I can't do this live?
If you're going to play live, you have to realize that your ceiling is at a certain point, right? And you can't get too close to that. Like if you're in the studio and you're recording and you're like, oh, I have to warm up for 6.9 hours to play this part. That's not a song that you're going to want to play live. You don't want to get that close. You want to be feeling kind of comfortable when you play.
Like comfortably numb, would you say?
Yeah. Or else you're going to be looking comfortably dumb,
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense. So, that actually will lead into here, John Petrucci. So, John, I read an interview with John. This was in 2019 or 20 with Guitar World, maybe. And they said, hey, what's the hardest song that you perform live? And what he threw out, he said, the hardest song overall that he plays live is Damage Control from his 2005. It was Suspended Animation, whatever year that came out, 2005 or something like that. Yeah. So Damage Control, and what he said about it was, he said overall the most challenging song to play live is Damage Control. He said it's just crazy. I've said this before. I feel like I'm doing Damage Control the entire time I'm playing it. It just has so many weird things about it, time signatures and technical changes and things. I love this song. And I remember thinking how cool it was when I first heard it back in the day, not thinking this is the most complicated thing I've ever heard.
I mean, he wrote that song in like a week too, right? And then played it live right after that.
Did he? Right before G3?
Well, you got the call from Satch, right? Hey, let's go on tour. Let's do G3.
Yeah,
and John was like, well, I don't have any original material. How am I going to pull this off? So he writes like 5 songs, full EP in whatever it was. It might have been like 2-3 weeks. It was under a month, and boom, just went for it on tour.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's also like, it's great. I don't know if this is great or not, but I can appreciate when someone that I look at as like flawless. John Petrucci is a flawless guitarist. He never makes mistakes, right? And then when he's out there, the interviewer asked him, like, have you ever screwed this up? Screwed up Damage Control live. John was like, every time I play it. So it's like, I mean, like, this is hard stuff. Anyway, here's a quick little clip. You can get a sense of like the complexity going on here.
This whole album's great, by the way. I'm going to say the suspended animation. Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah.
I also feel like he's playing it a lot slower than he does on the album.
Yeah, that's slow.
Yeah.
69 speed.
Yeah.
It's quite erotic / exotic if you think about it.
Very erotic. Yes.
Well, yeah. I mean, I heard several mistakes there.
Yeah. Yeah,
I like Matt's angle on it. He says, I feel like if you introduce sufficient complexity, eventually any screw-ups will just fit in nicely.
That is true.
Well, here's the deal. Like Beethoven said it best. To play a wrong note is insignificant, but to play without passion, now that's a problem.
Yeah.
So listen, I mean, like music is a language of emotion. If you can get people to feel something, you win. It's not about technical perfection. We're in an emotional domain when we're talking about music, right? So you're not trying to like be immaculate and not ever, hit a wrong note. That you're missing the point, right?
Well,
you're trying to like make me quiver in my nether regions. That's
I am always trying to do that to you, Shred. Yeah, that's true. The problem with that is it requires knowing some complexity in order to achieve that result, right? For instance, you remember back in, it was like the late 90s or early 2000s when Smashing Pumpkins, Billy Corgan was like, every song that possibly, every combination of notes that could possibly be put together has been done. And they quit the band. Like they shut Smashing Pumpkins down.
They ended up all the hit songs. It's over, Billy.
Yeah, he was just like, there's nothing else that anybody can write. And that's a fundamental lack of understanding and having a grasp on how complex music is, right? Because if you get to the point where you're like, I only know 3 chords and I've done every combination of them, well, then you're not complex enough, right? So I think that you need complexity in order to achieve what you're saying, to like feel it, or else everything just feels the same.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can look at the numbers. Obviously, the more complicated a band is, the less they sell. So there's like a baseline sort of foundation you have to get down. You have to be able, to put a coherent musical thought together with some degree of, education and complexity. But the kind of complexity that's going on in Dream Theater, I mean, this is like, John Petrucci is, if you were to like measure his IQ, right, it would probably be way above the average person's. So he doesn't write music for the average person. he's writing music for like a very small percentage of the population. So you just have to understand that. And the best thing that you can do, I see so many prog guys just write complete shit, crap music.
Oh yeah.
And the reason is because they're starting with complexity. You have to start with simplicity. And then on that base foundation form, like a blues format or something like that, then you introduce more variation and complexity. But if you start with something that's like really complex, no one's going to want to listen to that. It's the same with Dream Theater does the same thing.
Yeah. Well, and so I agree with you like 73% or something like that. I think that there's a high level of I would say Dream Theater stuff, anybody's stuff, regardless of how popular it is, it can be of a higher quality, right? And I think if you go too simplistic, you're losing quality. It's like Ernest Hemingway, right? Ernest Hemingway, everybody loves his writing, even though the people that love his writing have never actually read his stuff. He's a terrible writer, right? And he always prided himself. He's like, I never write a sentence that a 5-year-old can't understand. And so his idea was to dumb it down to the lowest common denominator so everybody can understand what he says. But then his writing's terrible. The man walked to the door. He opened the door. He looked out the door with his eyes. He blinked his eyes. I mean, it's terrible, terrible writing.
Well, it can, yeah. There's obviously a point to that too. I mean, Cardi B's, WAP is just like those 3 notes in the bass line the entire time. It's just lame.
Right.
But most people struggle with this. And what I try to imagine when I make social media content is that everybody's high and drunk when they're reading what I'm writing or watching the videos that I'm making. And that kind of like helps me dial in.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, they could be naked. Who knows?
So Matt Davis's comment, I don't know if I can click on these. I can't. I'm not logged in. But yeah, so to your point, Shred, if you zoom into animals as leaders, it's nuts how complex it is. But from, the 50,000 foot view, it's simplicity. So, I mean, what they're doing with complexity, they're able to transmit a simple idea, but they're using complexity to do it. And if they were to just play 3 chords or 3 notes, just play a couple triads, then it wouldn't have the same emotional impact.
Yeah, it's really important to get this point. If you try to write music that's complex, you will fail at, getting people to listen. You will. So you cannot start there. You must start with the language of emotion and try to get people to feel something first. Polyphia and Tim Henson, he says he actually writes pop songs to start, and then he adds like all these fancy licks in between. And when you listen to Polyphia song, you're like, whoa, that's rocket science. But the chords themselves are actually really just basic, simple.
I think the point is that you have to have, the technical understanding if you want to develop your music, but you still have to relate to people, right? So
it's about relating to people.
So I think you what you're saying, Dred, like how you phrase it is good. Like if your goal is to write something complex, you're missing the point. But if your goal is to connect with people, then if you have the technical ability to go complex, that lets you connect people different ways,
That's it.
But you have to start from the right spot.
Yeah. And you know what the truth is that a lot of guitar players have, 666 level egos, and their goal is actually to try to like get people to worship them. And that's when you stop relating to people. You're not making a connection.
And
so you need to start with, hey, how can I, impact people? Am I going through a hard time in life? Can I write a song about that and relate to someone else? That's the place to start.
The damage control piece is great for that because, I mean, it would be tempting to think that what we were going to get there was just like intense shredding. When you hear about John Petrucci talking about the difficulty of it, but what you really see is that from a unschooled individual, it looks actually fairly simple. Right. And so that's where it's like actually does connect on a sonic level and a a melodic level of intrigue without just blowing out the most technical, fast, from a guitarist. A lot of times you just think fast is what is hard to play, right?
Right. Right. Yeah. Well, and so to that point, because the interviewer asked John about Dream Theater stuff, and this is what John said. He said, Pale Blue Dot definitely has the most technically challenging pieces in one song. We purposely made the middle section sort of this adventure where we go off on an instrumental tangent with lots of different parts and time signatures. It's also one of the fastest sections on the album as far as alternate picking to get down. So that's going to be a hairy one live. So here's an example of the same stuff that we've been talking about. Not for your average listener. Okay, that goes on for a while. So I mean that there, but now that's nestled into a song that is a very melodic song. Epic song you can sing along to, but then there's that. So one of the strategies that Dream Theater does is I think they're very good at writing music that's relatable. I mean, they can catch your ear with fantastic melodies, but then they like throw this stuff in there that's just otherworldly.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of that is for them. There's things that are for the audience, and there's things that are for them, especially in 2022. Like, we have a lower ability to consume complexity than ever before right now. Our attention spans are literally less than a second when we're like scrolling Instagram. And I get it. You have to like see what you can do, but true. Keep in mind you're trying to communicate too.
Yeah, 100% agree. I mean, if you want to write something for yourself, that's great.
I can see this frustrating Dream Theater too, like in their marketing and sales and people that are showing up now. I went to a DT show not too long ago, and it was like half full. Of course, that had to do with other factors as well.
Sure.
But it's just like nowadays man, the dumber the better, it seems, which is kind of frustrating to an extent, right?
It is frustrating. That's why you shouldn't just like accept it and be like, that's what we should do because that's what sells. Be like, no, let's aspire to something bigger and better.
Well, you have to work with what's going on. Like if I make a YouTube video, about analyzing Dream Theater, people are like, I'm out of here. But if I'm like, hey, check it out. Look, it's Cardi B. And then I like kind of sneak in a little side note about Dream Theater. Then, you can get it down, but you gotta make it fun somehow too.
Yeah. Well, so to the point, your point earlier, Shred, this actually fits in really well about, that part was written by Dream Theater for Dream Theater. I'm not 100% sure. Like, I love it when Dream Theater does that kind of stuff. Now, the next band here, Meshuggah. So Meshuggah has the song called I, and they've never played it live. And when asked why they've never played it live, Thomas Hake there said, because none of the band knows how to play it. And so, like, apparently he went in, like, the drummer, Thomas Hake is the drummer and one other guy, I don't even know, went into the studio and he just recorded himself playing drums, doing random stuff that was crazy. Then they went back and, like, measure by measure, had like the guitarist write riffs for it. So it's like a 20-minute long song, and it's just completely random. And there's like, we have no idea how to play it. It's impossible to play live.
I mean, you couldn't learn that.
Well,
really. I mean, like they they just clipped up sections digitally, right? Copy paste there. I mean, it's like, you do that enough, you have no idea what's going on.
Well, that's what I liked. Actually, what Matt said, like here, an interesting thing is that when multiple musicians play the same piece together, it's validation they aren't just making up the phrases. Like in that Dream Theater piece, right? Like they were like harmonizing. Like you can't, because it's tempting to say, oh, they're just noodling around.
It's extremely calculated. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was funny because I went to this Dream Theater show, last one I went to, with like 8-9 other people. And I was watching them more than Dream Theater during the show, just to like, they had no idea who Dream Theater was. Like they were just like, this guy was like, hey, I have this tickets to this band called Dream Theater. You ever heard of them? I was like, yeah, I've heard of them. Okay. But no one else had.
Yeah, I've heard of them.
And they were just sitting there like, what is going on? Like it just
wild,
way over their heads.
That would be a wild thing to go into cold, but
yeah.
Oh man, yeah. Well, so I actually have a clip here of Meshuggah's Eye. Let's check it out and see if we can make sense of this.
I think that's 420-666 time.
It just never repeats. Never repeats.
Yeah.
So that I 100% understand what you're saying there, Shred, because like that's the type of song I would listen to. I would not listen to that one for fun. I would not listen to that one to engage with the music, right? I would listen to that one to like as a mental exercise to try to like, okay, where does each measure end? And it'd be impossible to do. But that's an academic exercise there. That's not music, right?
100%. And the thing I would just say is that as a guitar player, understand that people are not impressed. They're not impressed. Like I went through like 2/3 of my life thinking like, I was just practicing. I got my chromatic scales up to 250 beats per minute at 16th notes. And
it's so fast.
That was like maybe 8 years ago. And once I got to that point, I realized like I just sounded just bad. I just sounded really bad, overall as a player, because I was spending all my time trying to play, super fast. So there's a sacrifice that you make achieving that level of technique. You're sacrificing your musicality and your ability to interface with other people. So that's the only thing. Like, knock yourself out, do your thing, but just understand that, there's going to be like 0.69% of the population that actually resonates with what you're doing. And that's fine. I mean, there are other people out there that are very smart and that just get off on mental masturbation. So
I'm so glad. I'm so glad you used the word masturbation there, Shred, because our next clip is actually called The Mighty Masturbator.
Wow, that's crazy.
By Devin Townsend. So me
and Luke are like linked up telepathically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, no, I think that makes sense. And speaking of a guy, so he releases probably, I don't know, 2-3 records a year. Devin Townsend, and he once said, I think, Pete, you remind me or correct me if I'm wrong. He said he releases one album for the fans, and then he releases an album for himself, and he just goes back and forth.
Yeah, I read it in an interview, and it makes sense, right? Because he's got so much creative space he wants to explore, and it's like Shred was talking. Some Dream Theater does some stuff for themselves. They like nestle it in bits. Devin just like writes whole albums.
Yeah,
you have to. I mean, like there's this technique that
Yeah.
I'm really passionate about called 12-tone serialism. It's an atonal technique that Arnold Schoenberg came up with. And nobody knows who Arnold Schoenberg is. No one cares. No one cares what 12-tone technique is. But it's really fun for me, to explore that. But I mean, there's just not that much of a use for it, to be honest. You just have to realize that.
Yeah, and I think I think that's what Devin is doing too. Like he goes down these rabbit holes where he's like, this is super interesting to me, and he knows nobody's gonna like it. So then he releases it. Why not? But then he's like, okay, now I'll release something else that's more attractive to the fan base. And so it goes back and forth. And he has a lot of stuff where I'm like, this is interesting, but I'm not going to listen to it. But most of his stuff, I'm just like, my mind is blown. I love listening to his stuff. So this track called The Mighty Masturbator, it's one of his longest tracks. It's like 17 or 18 minutes long. And it's off of Deconstruction. So he did Deconstruction and Reconstruction. I don't know which one was for him and which one was for the fans. But
load and reload.
Yeah. So apparently he has only played this song live one time, and he said it was such a disaster he'll never do it again. His quote was, "It was a wild mess," and like so here's just a few snippets of the song. Like it's 17 minutes long. It's all over the place, but there's everything in. There's death metal. At one point, it goes into like disco. There's techno. There's like lullaby. There's choir. I mean, this song has like it's so eclectic. Anyway, let's check it out. Yeah.
I feel like I'm turning Japanese after that song. Yeah, that's how long is that?
The whole song is like 17 or 18 minutes long.
Okay. Yeah. So,
but
he's just radically shifting styles and everything.
Oh yeah, he's just packing it in there. And,
what I appreciate about Devin and what he does with the multiple, like between the albums, and even if you don't like it all, his explorations often come back in very musical ways in like core things he does. So it's like the exploration develops his core music sound as well. Which without the exploration, you wouldn't get that.
Yep. And you just have to understand, as an artist, especially as you're coming up, not everything you do is something you need to share with the world. It goes into your core development, like Pete said, and you may find a place for that. It's just part of your journey. You have to explore as a creative person, but that doesn't mean everything you do, is going to hit home. And, when you're deep in that creative pit of inspiration and you're obsessed with what you're doing, you lose perspective on that. You're so, I've done that a gazillion times where I'm like, this video is it. This is, I did an amazing job. And I really liked it, but then you release it and it's just like crickets, I mean, I've been there so many times. I know at this point, what's going to hit and what's not. And it's good to do that self-exploration, but not all of it's going to resonate with other people. That's just the facts.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Well, so yeah, and now there's another level of complexity when we're talking about performing live. Shred, you've talked about this before with Dave Mustaine, in terms of like playing complicated music, whether you're the drummer or the guitarist or whatever, and singing. And apparently, this is a very, very real thing. I never had a problem playing guitar and singing because I always played in 4/4 time, and I didn't play complex stuff. Right, I was the rhythm guitarist, but some of this music these guys are doing is incredibly complicated, and it's really, really hard to sing while you're doing it. So we've got a couple of bands here that have songs that they refuse to play live because they're like, I can't do it. I physically can't sing and play the guitar at the same time. So here's Gojira. This song is called Esoteric Surgery off of The Way of All Flesh. And Joe Duplantier was like, will not play it live. He's like, I could if I practiced enough. But he's like, I'm lazy and it's just too complicated, so I'm not going to do it. Let's check it out.
Yeah, it's very rhythmically busy.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some weird stuff. So you just be like, missing notes if you were trying to sing that or something, or maybe what you should do is what Isan, solo artist, was with, started Emperor back in the day. Do what he does, and you just don't play. You have your backup guitarist play. So Isan, famously for his song Scarab, he's like, I just stop playing the guitar, let the guitarist do that, and then I'll sing.
Devin does the same thing.
Who?
Devin Townsend.
Oh, I haven't seen
him
him
all the time when he's playing live. All the time, he just stops playing to focus on a certain part.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense if something's really complicated. Frick, man. So let's check out Isan, and then I want to show you an example of a band that pulls it off somehow, even though they claim they can't.
You played that one little part.
Yeah. So is that cheating, Shred? Is it cheating?
The only rule that exists in music is to make people feel something. Yeah. It does not matter how you do that. Everything is fair game. That's my opinion. Like that is what sells things, right? And if you can't sell anything, you're not going to have a career. That's a reflection of sort of how much you're communicating with others, basically.
I'm going to take that to mean, no, it is not cheating. No. And Isan is doing just fine.
Just doing fine.
Son, you get a passing grade, bro. 8-string guitar, extra points for that.
Speaking of people, I wanted to bring this up earlier, but making people feel something in the emotionality, that's come up a lot. I thought it was interesting. We blew by this, but in the Dream Theater section, that they have a song they don't sing because it's too emotional for them to play because of the story. And I think that that's another thing. Like, if you're writing songs from a deep place, that can make it difficult to go back and play them, because if they mean something to you, hopefully that translates through to others, but can make it difficult to play.
That's right. Well, and so the song you're talking about is The Best of Times. Dream Theater's never played it live. And because Mike Portnoy wrote the lyrics about his dad dying of cancer. And he said it was too emotional. He couldn't play it live. And of course, now with him gone, like they'll never play it. Right.
Right.
Well, also Change of Seasons, can't speak today, is about Mike Portnoy's mom dying in a plane crash, which is really sort of tragic. You would think that would have been even harder for them to play.
No, apparently he was fine with that
one. Play that a bunch of times, yeah.
Yeah, they play that live. I've seen them play that one live. But no, that's right. And we have a Slipknot song, Diluted. Same thing. They've never played it live because Corey Taylor said it's too emotional and he wouldn't be able to get through it. So, right. So that's another form of, a forbidden song. They're the ones that you can't play physically, the ones you can't play emotionally.
That's a good thing, though, if you feel it that strongly. People want that. That's the kind of stuff that's the best, when you're really bleeding your soul, right?
Yeah.
Because when you're feeling something, people sense that. That's powerful.
That is the whole thrust behind Doom and goth metal. Because, they play like a chord every 40 seconds. There's like no music. There's no musical complexity to do that, except in the layers that they express, either vocally or in the lyrics or, in the atmospheric nature of what they're doing. But it's incredibly slow. It's not technical or complicated music at all. Extremely emotional. So now here's a clip. This is interesting because I read an article with Michael Akerfeld from Opeth.
Oh, yeah.
And the song Serenity Painted Death. He's like, we almost never play this song. He's like, we played it a few times by request or whatever. But he's like, we almost never play it because it's too hard to play and sing at the same time. Here's a clip of them doing it. And you tell me, if you guys know this song, you tell me if he's actually pulling this off or not.
What is that, like the high school battle of the bands?
Yeah.
tiny stage there. That's some nice groove to it. That's a great thing to incorporate. If you are going to play really complicated metal music, try to make it have like this sexy groove, like that song.
Yeah, for people that could see the video, obviously, if you're listening to this on podcast, you couldn't see the video. His hand is just flopping all over that guitar neck. And if you listen
He's
to
stroking his hardwood a lot.
Yeah. And if you listen to the track on the album, I feel like he's much more consistent in his vocal delivery than he is on stage here. But the fact that he goes out there and does it, like, people want to hear it. So he's like, all right, let's do this thing. And he pulls it off. It's great. I did read one Redditor on a thread said that he was at a show. They started playing it and he made so many mistakes. He stopped. They just quit in the middle of the song and then went on to the next song.
Oh, that's really brutal.
Give up on life.
Just pretend that didn't happen.
just not feeling that song tonight. We're done.
Again, though, I mean, don't let it get to your head, and don't let this idea that, the complexity of what you're doing is going to make people worship you. There's the nerds are out there, and they're watching to see if you slip up, right? Because they just want to feel better about themselves. But everyone else, 99.999% of the population, they're there to have a good time and to relate to your musical message.
Yeah.
And be surprised that they showed up at your concert, like the guys you went to Dream Theater with. What is going on?
I mean, like I was at a Symphony X show last month, and I talked to a number of people that weren't musicians, didn't know anything about music. They resonated with the band.
Oh, yeah.
And obviously, they knew that Symphony X could play well, but that wasn't why they were there. They were singing the words to every song.
Yeah. Right. Okay, I got one more funny story. Maybe it's funny. Cannibal Corpse. So like when I started researching for this episode, I was like, okay, there's got to be some great shit out there on Cannibal Corpse, like messing up live or whatever. So as it turns out, they're actually really good musicians, so they don't make a lot of mistakes. But they have this this song called "Frantic Disembowelment," and
it's like what happened to me this morning.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
So apparently they got requests to play "Frantic Disembowelment" a lot, and Corpse Grinder was like, "I can't get the vocal delivery down. I just can't do it." So he's like, "Not going to sing it." So they never played it live.
Required. I think if he just had like a little bit extra going on here in terms of width, he could probably pull it off.
That's probably what it was. He hadn't done his neck ups that day, on the days that he was performing. Yeah. Anyway, so one day they have a show and Corpse Grinder gets the flu. And so he's like, I can't perform. And the band was like, well, listen, everybody already bought tickets. It's last minute. We're going to go perform, and we're just going to perform our entire set list with no vocals. And they were like, hey, since Corpse Grinder's not here, let's play Frantic Disembowelment. So they've played this song live one time, and it was because Corpse Grinder was sick with the flu and at home. That's the only time they've ever played this live. But here is the song. Now, you tell me how difficult this delivery is. I feel like Corpse Grinder could handle this, but maybe not. Here's Frantic Disembowelment.
Wow.
I love it when he goes up into
the maybe that's the part that he can't do. He's like, that's too high for me.
That doesn't sound very hard vocally compared to his other stuff.
Right. Might just be getting the timing, right? It was kind of like chopped up and just like a little weird.
Cannibal Corpse's music is extremely technical. Mm-hmm. I did a video once on Hammer Smashed Face, and I had to learn a few of the parts. And it's no walk in the park, I'll say that.
No, I mean, you
walk
can hear
through
that.
hell.
That is like blazing fast, and I don't even know. Like some of their riffs and the little licks they play it sounds like drills and screws and nails. It's a bizarre sound that they create with their playing.
Yeah, it's so saturated. It's hard for me to understand how they keep their place with that like super, super distorted sound.
Yeah.
Because it like you lose kind of like the attack where you're at with timing when you have that much distortion. I mean, they like, turn their amps all the way up, and then they put like distortion pedals on top of it, just hit that 666 level.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, taking it down a notch in complexity, maybe. Read an interview with Megadeth, and the interviewer asked them, like, what is the most difficult song to play live? And our good friend, who's no longer in the band anymore, Dave Ellefson, said, Holy Wars. Holy Wars is the most difficult Megadeth song to play live. Now he's been with Megadeth, I think, since the beginning. And he just left the band like last year or whatever. So out of all of Megadeth's stuff, Holy Wars is the most difficult one to have. Let's check out a clip of Holy Wars.
Yeah, I don't know. The singing and playing that is tough for sure. Dave Mustaine wins the prize for, best vocalist while playing. Papa Het does some pretty tricky moves too, but Dave it's even more complex, I would say.
Yes. Now the bass part, I'm not sure. I don't know why that's the most difficult song.
Holy Wars is a hard song. It's, the way that Dave Mustaine writes, he'll write a riff, but then it never really repeats exactly. Like the next time it comes around, it's a little bit different, and it's a little bit different, and a little bit different. It's very theme and variations sort of thing. So you have to remember a lot of different little intricacies. I don't know. We should get like a solo bass version of that or something. Maybe he's doing something crazy that we don't hear.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe it was an And Justice for All situation where they just buried the bass. That's what they did in And Justice for All. They literally just, Lars was like, he hated Jason Newsted so much. He was like, we're just not going to have your bass be audible. He came into mix and you could like barely hear the bass. And he was like, you know what? He's like, drop it another negative 12 dBs. And it's gone. His bass is just gone.
It's so weird. It's just it's like, why not just fire the guy and get another guy?
He might have been insecure about his double bass ability.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like, his Newsted's bass playing is better than my double bass playing.
Can't have that. Can't have it.
Yeah.
Can't have it. No. Yeah, so there it is. Okay, got a couple others here we can look at. These are lesser known bands. Arsis, I don't know how many people are familiar with Arsis. They're actually a fantastic death metal band. And they have a song called Soulless to Shattered that they say they will never play live because it is too complicated. Let's take a look if I can find it here. Arsis, there we go. Let's take a listen to this and see if that holds muster.
Whoa, that was wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. So here's one thing. If you walk away with anything, metal drummers are so absurd. Like, to be able to play as fast as they play, and like they're responsible for staying on the beat. I mean, it's nuts. It's nuts that anybody can do that. I don't understand it.
It's like Olympic athlete level. You really have to be in tremendous physical condition to play that stuff.
Yeah. To be hitting the double bass, and I know they have double bass pedals, but like to be hitting double bass for that long, just like it's incredible. I love listening to speed drumming. It's so much fun. It's almost more fun than listening to speed picking. I don't know. It's all good.
I don't know. Pick your battles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
There you go.
Nile. Here's another band that does not get the credit they deserve. The band Nile, death metal band. The song "Even the Gods Must Die" is a song that they have never performed live. They don't say it's because it's too difficult. They say it's because it's too long. It's 10 minutes long, and they said their average set is like 30 minutes. So they're like, it'd be a third of our set to play this one song. So they never play it live. But anyway, here's Nile, "Even the Gods Must Die." This is like a 3-minute solo at the end. They could probably cut out that 3-minute solo at the end, and then they'd be able to fit it into a set.
That had some good tones and stuff. It was cool.
Pretty wicked.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sounds like the priest didn't make it in the temple.
I don't think so. I don't. They sing a lot. Obviously, I mean, the name of the band is Nile. They're an American band. They were formed in America, but they heavy themes to like ancient Egypt and and the gods and that kind of stuff.
Gods.
So yeah, so there it is. That's kind of the span. I got a couple of on here, but like Pig Destroyer. Does anybody really want to listen to Pig Destroyer? Pete,
I think I've heard them. They have like the overtone singing guy or something where they do the weird squeal sounds.
Oh,
let's
maybe
try it. I have not heard Pig Destroyer.
This is a song. They're like maybe a not as good version of Cannibal Corpse, maybe.
Okay.
But this song is called "Towering Flesh," and they've never played it live because they claim it's too complicated. They can't.
That's a little tough.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to learn that for a live show. That's might take me a while.
Here's what's great though. Like, I wonder if YouTube's algorithm is going to pick that up and flag it. Like, how would any algorithm recognize that? I don't know.
It's definitely not worth they're not going to be making serious bank off that copyright claim. I'm going to say that.
Surprisingly, Pig Destroyers, they're popular in certain circles. Like, I see their name around all the time, but I'm not sure. Do you guys listen to Pig Destroyer? Does anybody out there listen to Pig Destroyer?
Well,
Maybe.
I mean, it's the same thing with like the political spectrum. There's a certain very small percentage, of people that identify a certain way and they're extremely loud and vocal. And
Sure.
there's these cult followings for specific bands. Like Meshuggah has a crazy dedicated following. I mean, I haven't really looked up their sales numbers, but anytime, if you look at jazz and classical, those are like the worst selling, out of all the genres.
Yeah.
And then the best selling, of course, is popular music. So yeah, anything that's just out on the fringe like that, but the people that do get into it, man, they will die for you. They're so dedicated.
Yeah. And that's why I'm glad some people do it. I'm glad some people are extreme, because I like some extreme stuff, and it's like I need somebody out there to be writing that kind of music.
Extreme stuff. Yeah, I mean, Dream Theater, I would say, is extreme for sure, just in a different way.
Oh well, yeah,
not in the same way as Pig Destroyer.
Right, right. All right, guys. Well, unfortunately, I got totally sidetracked. I didn't have my screen on, and so I didn't see a lot of these comments.
All kinds of good stuff.
Yeah, it looks like we had a lot of good comments. So
I threw a few up throughout, but yeah, you guys had great discussion in the comments. We couldn't keep up with them and get all the other show stuff in, but that's what I love.
Yeah, so that's awesome. But yeah, let us know. I mean, comment. Let us know what forbidden songs out there are you guys familiar with? Bands that will not play certain songs live or have disowned songs. I know that's a big one in like country music about a few years ago, because everybody was like the Dixie Chicks. They're like, oh, it's politically incorrect to have the word Dixie in our name because they thought it was racist. So now they're just called the Chicks. So they started like disowning a lot of their old songs and their own name and stuff. It got really weird.
That's wild.
Anyway, yeah, you guys let us know what forbidden stuff is out there. We like taking a ride through the dark alleys of metal. So let us know what to check out. Okay, guys, thanks for checking out episode 69. Remember that the world ends with you, so 69 at metal.